Do you remember the JR Fukuchiyama derailment that took place on April 25th, 2005? It took place during rush hour, and 107 people were killed. The accident was blamed on the carelessness of the train driver, but in reality, it may have been for another reason. April 24th, the day before the accident, the timetable for the JR Kobe line was thrown into chaos because a driver spotted a figure walking alongside the tracks between Tsukamoto and Amagasaki stations. Trains were suspended on both sides of the tracks to investigate, yet nobody was ever found. The accident the following day happened near where that figure had been seen. Was that figure seen there the day before an omen? But that wasn't the only strange thing to happen either. On the day of the accident, something else happened. A woman was on the train that was about to derail, on her way to meet her boyfriend. Yet, an elderly woman suddenly grabbed her arm and screamed at her once the train reached Itami Station, the final stop before the accident took place. "You mustn't ride this train," she screamed, pulling the young woman out. She then insisted that the young woman also turn off her phone, which she reluctantly did. At that very moment, an announcement played over the station speakers. It informed everyone that there had just been an accident on the tracks up ahead. The same train the woman had just been on. The woman was shaken at this sudden development, but when she turned around, the old woman was gone. Who on earth was she? Was she a regular old lady who had an epiphany, or perhaps something else? Ever since the Great Hanshin earthquake of 1995, numerous spirits had been seen in the area of the train crash. Perhaps that figure seen walking by the tracks and even the old woman were victims of that horrific tragedy, unable to move on to the other side. Hello, and welcome to Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and on this show we'll be looking at different urban legends from Japan, how they came about, and, when possible, the truth behind them. Have you picked up your copy of Toshiden Volume 3 yet? It's available on Amazon right now, so head over and grab it. This week, we're looking at an urban legend that was born out of a very real incident: the derailment of a train on the Fukuchiyama Line in 2005. What caused it to derail? If you believe the rumors, it may have been ghosts. Also known as the Amagasaki derailment, due to Amagasaki being the station the train was heading towards at the time, this was a real incident that happened at 9:19 a.m. on April 25th, 2005. It was just after the morning rush hour, so the train was still packed with reportedly 700 people on board at the time. Of those, 106 passengers were killed, as well as the driver, and 562 others injured, making it the most serious train incident in Japan since 1963. The driver was blamed for the accident, but if you believe the urban legends that cropped up soon thereafter, it might not have been his fault after all. The train that derailed was a limited stop rapid service, with 7 cars running on the Fukuchiyama Line. 23-year-old Takami Ryujiro was driving that fateful day, and it's believed a series of unfortunate events are what ultimately led to the train coming off the rails. 25 minutes before the accident, Takami ran a red light, which caused the train's automatic stop to kick in and halt the train briefly on the tracks. Takami had also overshot the train's stopping position at Itami, the previous stop, meaning he had to reverse the train back to the correct position, delaying it further. This added another 90-second delay to his already late train. He had been working for 2 days straight by that point, and was mentally and physically exhausted. His shift was supposed to end at 9:38 a.m. that day. The reason this is so important is that it's believed to have played directly into the accident. Japan is well known for its punctual trains, and they're rarely even a few seconds over their scheduled time. Particularly around rush hour, thousands upon thousands of commuters rely on trains being on time to the second so they can meet their transfers and get to work on time. The train schedules are complex and must be kept immaculate if everyone wants to get where they need to be. Even 10 or 15 seconds can mess this up, setting off a chain reaction of delayed trains that messes up schedules all over the region. JR West, the company running the line Takami was driving at the time, was known to be especially strict with their drivers as well. At the time of the accident, they had an internal program known as Nikkin Kyowiku, which translates to day shift education. This program, later described as more of a punishment and psychological torture than anything else, saw drivers who were late forced to perform menial duties, such as cutting grass, and write lengthy reports about what they'd done. Takami had been formally warned by JR West 10 months earlier due to another incident where he overshot a platform and was forced to reverse his train, causing delays. This was no doubt on his mind as it happened a second time, and investigators suspected that his fear of being forced into the day shift education program was likely behind what happened next. He had also received an official message over the train's wireless communications about his delay, which no doubt didn't help with his state of mind. As the limited stop train sped past Tsukuguchi Station, it was recorded as going 120 kilometers per hour. By this stage, Takami had managed to reduce his delay to 60 seconds, yet that was still too much. Investigators believed he continued to speed in an effort to make up for the lost time, and survivors of the crash also reported the train seemed to be going much faster than usual. As the train turned a corner with a speed limit of just 70 kilometers per hour, it derailed, slamming into an apartment building beside the tracks. The first carriage slammed into the first floor parking lot, while the second was crushed into the building by the weight of the carriages behind it. Equipment recovered from the train revealed it was going 116 kilometers an hour when it derailed, nearly 50 kilometers over the speed limit. The speed brake was applied only 4 seconds before the train derailed, leading investigators to believe that Takami didn't realize how fast he was going as he approached the corner, and only at the last second saw what was about to happen. Yet even then, he used the train's service brakes rather than the emergency brakes, as use of the emergency brakes without a justifiable reason could potentially lead to another warning. Considering how stressed Takami was on this day, it's likely this stress overrode his logic, causing him to skip another potential warning and use the regular brakes instead. Not that it would have mattered, as it was too late by that point anyway. Although Takami was officially to blame for the accident, that he also died in, fingers were quickly pointed at JR West for their harsh timetables that left drivers little leeway, and also their embarrassing and humiliating day shift education program. Numerous changes were made as a result of the accident, such as reduced speed limits and longer times between trains. But that didn't change the fact that over 100 people died, and 500 more were injured, many of whom still suffer effects to this day. In fact, so many people were injured that there weren't enough ambulances to carry them all to the hospital, and many people had to walk or were carried in the cars of nearby private residents. It wasn't long until urban legends began to spread about the incident as well. It happened 10 years after the Great Hanshin earthquake of 1995, and the areas greatly affected by this have had numerous tales of spirits loitering where they were killed over the years. The curve where the accident took place was one of them, and although there is no proof, one of the first rumours to spread was that a figure had been seen walking along the same section of the tracks the day before. This part of the legend is actually true. A train driver reported seeing a figure in dark clothes walking alongside the tracks near Amagasaki Station at 11:50 AM on April 24th, the day before the accident. Staff searched for the figure but never found anyone, and the delay ended up affecting 39 trains and over 10,000 people. The part about the young woman being pulled off the train by an elderly woman, warning her that she mustn't ride it, is harder to confirm, however. And without proof, at best we can only count it as a baseless urban legend. It's possible that this happened, of course, and it doesn't mean that the elderly woman had any idea of what was about to happen. And without proof from the many hundreds of people that were both on the train and on the platform at the time, it's likely this was added to the mix after to make the urban legend even more terrifying. Stories of spirits are likely to linger in the Osaka region for many years to come. But in this case, it was very much human error and a long string of tragic events that ultimately led to the train derailing, not ghostly influence. These days, a memorial stands where the apartment building that was hit used to be, and numerous changes for the better came out of the horrific accident as well. None of these will bring back the lives that were lost, of course, but it's a step in the right direction. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. You can help support us and get early access to both this show and Kawabana over on our Patreon at patreon.com/TaraADevlin. And if you want even more urban legends, Toshiden Volume 3 is available on Amazon right now, so don't miss out. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time for even more Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kawabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kawabana.net now.